All right, everyone, it's time for another exciting episode. And today, I got to tell you, I have one of my dear friends, a very special guest with me, Jordan Lewis. Jordan, how's everything going?
Going great. How are you doing?
Man, better than I deserve. Life is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything's just working out. Everything has been exceptional recently. And one of our most recent develops here at AgileDad, Jordan's just joined us as one of our premier coaches, and exciting. She is also going to be one of our instructors. She recently just earned her SAFe SPC. So tell me just a little bit about your journey, Jordan, about becoming an SPC, about what this means to you, about the PMI offerings you might be doing. Just give us a little bit of background about who you are and what kind of things you're going to be doing.
Yeah, of course. So I am originally from Southern California. I moved up to Utah quite a few years ago now and attended the University of Utah. And while I was in college, yeah, go Utes. While I was in college there, I really kind of fell in love with project management. At the time, I was young. I kind of only knew a little bit about it, but I knew that's kind of the path that I wanted to take. So while I was in school, I worked on a tech product management team. And then after I graduated, I took a role as a project manager and kind of have had my feet in the water in quite a few different types of projects. I did construction for a little while, managing contracts and dealing with subcontractors. And that was a very waterfall type traditional approach to project management. And then I took a role in a project management office at a large company doing a lot of like marketing type projects. And I really was just familiar with the traditional project management waterfall approach really up until COVID hit. And all of a sudden, March 2020, we really had to adjust. And that was when I really started learning about Agile and how beneficial it really can be for a company. So started learning as much as I could about Agile project management methodologies, which then kind of just led to me getting my project management professional certification and then my certified Scrum Master and then now my SPC. So learning just more and more about Agile. Yeah, it's great. I love it. And it's just so beneficial for companies. I've seen it in my own job, kind of moving from traditional waterfall approaches to Agile, and it's been so beneficial. So it's great.
In the words of my 14-year-old, who would love me if she heard me say this, valid. That's valid, right? Because that's what she
Yeah,
would say. She'd be like, valid. No, but
valid.
it's exceptional to see how Agile really does make a difference. And
Mhm.
it's one of these things. I think the thing that excited me the most, so a little bit of history. So Jordan was a student in one of my classes, and that's how we met. And she really stood out to me as someone who not only there's part of being a coach that's tangible and something you can learn, and then there's part of it that's intangible that you can't learn. And she stood out to me as someone who had those intangible qualities that make you a fantastic coach, but also someone who is smart enough to pick up on the tangible things. So that kind of combination is rare in the world of Agile. We kind of call it a unicorn. It's one of those things where when you get people who can do both, you sink teeth in, and that's kind of how we got to the point where you are today. Now, the whole premise of this podcast, just so you know, is we always ask three questions. It's kind of like a daily scrum. So we're going to keep in that tradition and we're going to ask three questions. So the
Okay.
first question for you, Jordan, and by the way, just so everyone knows, I never tell the guests what the three questions are. And it's never the same three questions, which is really interesting. The third question is always the same, but the first two are always different because lots of times, I should say most of the time, the second question is based on the answer to the first question. So here we go.
I'm ready.
The first question is an easy one. So you talked a lot about different types of project management, everything from construction to your current full-time job to I know you're studying some marketing and have some marketing background as well.
Mhm.
What role do you see? Because you said you have the traditional PMP, you've got the CSM, and now you've got the SAFe certification, the SAFe SPC, which is one of the higher level certifications. So my question is, what role do you see Agile playing going forward? Because a lot of people are traditionalists and think about Agile in a traditional sense of how it's been applied since 2002. What do you feel if I asked you, Jordan, to identify one thing that you feel is modernizing Agile, something that you feel like maybe you learned in a SAFe class or something that you feel like is pushing Agile forward, What direction do you see things going? And what's one tool that you think that's going to propel Agile into the rest of 2023 and beyond? What's the next thing? Which direction are we trying to take things?
Yeah, that's a great question. Something that we have touched on time and time again in pretty much all the classes that I've taken and everything that I've studied about Agile is, the main focus and the main goal is delivering value to customers. And with SAFe principles, it is delivering that value incrementally, with fast cycles. And so I think that has really propelled, at least from my experience, has really propelled our customer satisfaction. It's helped with that. And then it's also just helped with ensuring that our products are being delivered in a timely manner. And so I really feel like kind of relying on those like SAFe, lean, agile principles, as well as the agile principles of like responding to change over following a plan, kind of like I touched on with COVID, maybe before COVID, everything was following a plan and having that scope statement laid out and, not changing that. And if you did change that, it was a big deal. And then now, of course, with Agile, it's how do we respond to changes in the market, or for COVID, how do we respond to that? And then how do we still deliver value to customers to keep the business successful?
That's interesting because I feel like overall, the answer you gave is very solid. And I think overall, what I'm seeing is a similar shift. I'm seeing people starting to focus more on impact and outcome. So they're starting to become more customer focused, more consumer focused than they ever have been before. And I think that organizations are currently struggling with identifying their target consumer or identifying who they're building things for. And it's not necessarily struggling with identifying a persona, but it's struggling with making sure that they've identified the correct persona or set of personas to get to where they need to be. So that's going to kind of lead me into question number two. Number two is there are lots of areas where organizations and people are struggling with implementation of Agile, with scaling Agile. I mean, you could go from one end of the spectrum to the other. Organizations are struggling. If you had to identify one superpower that you feel like you have that you could come in to break through and just kind of really engage with people, because I can tell you right now, I have an idea of what your superpower is, and I'm curious to see if you say your superpower is the same one that I think it is. So I'm going to give you a chance to tell me what you think your superpower is, and I'm either going to agree and say yes and reinforce it, or I'm going to say and this one. So you're going to get the benefit of the doubt either way. But what do you feel your superpower is? Because there's a ton of SPC people out there who are offering SAFe classes. But I want to assure anyone here who's watching that your whole offering is something completely different. It's astronomically different. And it's not that the material's different. It's just the way that you teach is different. I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to give away the superpower. But what do you identify as your superpower, and how do you make a greater connection with the people that you engage with?
Well, that's a good question. So I think I'm going to put this back on you because I think that you are a really great teacher and you have a lot of passion when you teach. And that's something that I think that I have as well. I'm really passionate about teaching. I want people to understand the principles and be excited about it. And I would say that helping other people get excited about things that maybe don't sounds super exciting right off the bat is probably something that I'm pretty good at, just in working, with my team and helping them get excited about the products we're creating. So I would probably say that's mine. I'm curious to hear what you think mine is.
So I had it from the very beginning, and I think I said this in the very first class when I met you. I think that your superpower is balance. And let me explain what I mean by that. I feel like you do very well at hitting all the core things, making it easy to understand, making principles clear, getting those things across to people. But I also think that sometimes you're so deeply passionate about what you do that it creates this almost like, I'm trying to think of the right word. It creates this charisma that can't be replaced. It's an intangible, and it's what you just now described. You get so excited about what you do that it makes it easy for you to engage in what some people think are boring topics and energize those and make it something that people want to be around you. They're excited to learn. They're excited to be around you. They're excited to figure things out. And I think that ties very well into your career choice. It ties into your major. You're going for your master's, which is pretty impressive. It ties into that. It ties into a lot of different things. And I think that the big thing that I noticed about you, the big takeaway that I had was that when I first met Jordan, the first thing I said was, if there was ever someone who was going to just take over the world or just conquer anything that was put in front of her, it was going to be Jordan. And the reason I said that is because I saw not just the value of the value that you placed on learning, but the value that you put on helping others grow. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't focus on. They don't focus on the empathetic part about what can I do to make it better for someone else. They focus on what's in it for me. And I
Mhm.
sense that is something that can't be taught. You either have it or you don't. That's something that you have in spades. That's something that you've got more of than I do, which is pretty scary. But yeah, but it's just you have this knack of just really extending yourself to others, and it's incredible. It's a powerful tool. And that's going to lead me to our third and final question, just because I try to keep these about 10 minutes, but I want to make sure we're showcasing you and not what I think about you. So here's the third question. If I gave you the power to change one thing in the world to make it better, if you could use the tools and knowledge and things that you had to really revolutionize or change the way people feel about something, or change one thing in the world so that it was a better place, what tool or what agile principle would you use, or what contribution would you give personally to help make the world a better place? What do you see that you have that you can give, or something that you know of? And this is a question that I told you a little bit about.
Yeah.
What would you do to
Yeah.
make the world a better place?
Well, I think specifically if we're talking agile, I have always loved to write. It's always come just a little bit more naturally for me. And something that I have just really had on my mind is, how do we help the smaller companies adopt agile?
Mm,
And because it's a really big decision for them to make, and it can be really scary, and it can be expensive and time consuming, and it's a little bit of a risk that companies take when adopting these principles. And something that I've thought of a lot is, I would love to be able to do some market research on some companies that have adopted it successfully. And I would love to write a book. And, the main purpose of the book being, kind of a guide for smaller companies when deciding whether or not they want to adopt Agile, is,
mhm,
being able to read through maybe just even like testimonials of
mhm.
companies that have done it and things they've done well, and maybe things that they failed at, to learn from. And I really think that that would have been something that would have been helpful for me. And
Yeah.
so thinking long term, like, how can we help other people in the future in other companies? I would love to do that.
Okay. So this is the part where I jump in and I'm going to throw Jordan an assist. Here we go. Three things you need to know about Jordan right now. Number one, her desire to help small companies grow, which she just now told you, is 100% sincere. In fact, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Here we go. Any company out there that hears this voice of this podcast, if you heard Jordan's voice just now, all you have to do is send me an email directly, lee@agiledad.com, and let me know that you're interested in having Jordan come out to your company to help coach, to help energize. It could just be for a few hours. It doesn't have to be a long-term engagement. We don't have any minimum number of hours. Even if you want to just bring her in to try it out to see if she can diagnose and figure out what things are going on, you're going to get 25% off just because you listen to this podcast. So whatever the price is, I'm just going to take 25% off right out of the gate, just so you can try her out. Because here's guarantee number two. You will never meet another coach more dynamic, or a trainer more dynamic than she is. She wants to help. She wants to energize. She wants to spread love and share light. And I think that that's something that you just need to experience to understand. So this is going to go to all of you who maybe aren't in a small company. If you want to take one of her classes, she's offering a lot of SAFe classes, and soon she's going to be offering some PMI classes, some PMP and PMI ACP type classes as well. So if you want to sign up for any one of her classes, if you reach out to me and let me know that you listen to this podcast, and I'm going to drop a code somewhere in the text here, and use that code, you'll be eligible to receive a discount off of any of the classes that she's teaching. So once again, you'll get to try before you buy, and get to see how she teaches and how she conducts, because I can tell you right now, she's going to make a world of difference. And the third thing, this is incredible, but I haven't even hit the home run yet. Here we go. We offer our military classes every single year for military veterans or for people who are transitioning. We appreciate and love our veterans so much. Jordan has been gracious enough to offer to do a free class, a free SAFe training for anyone who's transitioning. So we're going to list that class here soon, and we're going to open up a lottery for 25 students who want to attend her class. Now, I'm going to do 2 classes. I know that we're going to have 2 stable classes, 2 SAFe classes, and 2 Scrum classes for a total of 6 classes for free, each with 25 members. So we're trying hard to give back to the community. We're trying hard to share light and love. And I just wanted to, I'd be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to introduce you to Jordan. Jordan, you have been magnificent. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you.
And if you have questions about her, about this topic, about which classes, about anything you heard on this podcast, feel free to reach out. Learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. And any closing words? Anything else you got to say?
No, thank you for having me on the podcast. It was great.
Thanks for being awesome. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care. See ya.